Am I gonna be so exhausted that I die?
Oh, wake up, rethink the status quo. When you get your money right, then you're the one who runs your life. Come build a wealthy spirit with Sammy and Michelle.
Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes really inspired me. When I read it, I was like, yes, I have to say yes to every opportunity because any opportunity could be the opportunity. On the flip side, I was also very inspired by Derek Sivers' no yes. Either heck yeah or no. Saying, if you're gonna say no. If you're not 1,000% excited about it, if you don't feel it bubbling up in your soul, say no. But what are you supposed to say, Sammy? Yes or no?
The truth is that sometimes you say yes and sometimes you say no. That sounds obvious, but we're going to go into detail about it today on the podcast.
Are you in a season of yes or a season of no?
Let's get into it.
But first, say yes to our partner, AirHelp. Here's why. I often find myself saying no when I'm flying because these days, I don't know what's happening. Flights seem to get canceled out of nowhere, delayed for hours and hours. But you know what? I'm just glad the door doesn't fly off at this point. That being said, AirHelp comes in to save the day. You just give them the information, they'll go to your airlines and they'll talk to them and say, hey, yo, what the F is going on? Can we get some compensation for this girl? That's how I assume the conversations go. You only pay them if they're actually able to get you some compensation. So, next time you fly, bookmark our link to AirHelp because, trust me, things are getting crazy up in the sky, and I wish you the best, but prepare for needing AirHelp.
Back to today's topic. Seasons of yes versus seasons of no. The truth is, both seasons of yes and seasons of no are appropriate in our lives. And it's all about whether we're trying to bring in more or if we're trying to cut out all the excess.
And here's the problem I have found. Doing a season of yes when you should be in a season of no can be overwhelming. Doing a season of no when you should be in a season of yes means you could be blocking blessings. You're not making friends. You're not meeting people. You're saying no to opportunities. Both of these lessons are so important, but we want to focus today on when to think about being in a season of yes and how to go about that properly, and when to be in a season of no, when you gotta be like no, and that empowers you.
Let's start with seasons of yes. Seasons of yes are wonderful times when we're making new opportunities, new friends, new experiences. I always think about when I move to a new place or start a new job. It's a time for a season of yes. Maybe it's after a breakup. Maybe it's a big change or transition in your life. It's when you need more.
More, or different, or maybe you're feeling comfortable. I often find that a season of yes is great when I need to push myself out of my comfort zone. And I agree, big transitions in life. Moving, for example, is a big one.
You know, when I started my sabbatical and moved here, that was a season of yes for me. I said yes to all kinds of things. I went to the Death Cafe, I went to Deep Talk, all kinds of meetup groups. I met people on Bumble BFF. We went to all the parties at our apartment clubhouse. I met a girl through Facebook because she found that I was living in Charleston and we were interested in the same Facebook group. In fact, we met fellow podcasters Sage and Kate on a Facebook group for Charleston as well. It was a time of meeting people, doing things that I haven't done before. It's a really beautiful time because you're just exploring. You say yes to things that you don't normally say yes to. Usually it also reflects having a little bit more time in your life, having a little bit of space to add.
What I love about this, Sammy, is that when you are in this season of yes, for you, it was about meeting new people, building community. And so make life easy for yourself. Don't evaluate every opportunity. Do I really want to go to a meetup that's 30 minutes away? It doesn't matter. Season of yes. I met this person on Facebook. I don't really know them. Should I go hang out? It doesn't matter. Season of yes. Am I into pickleball? I am now. Do I know which yoga class I'm going to like? I don't know. Let's say yes to all of them. Seasons of yes really open yourself up to new opportunities. I still feel anxiety doing new things. When I go to a new workout class, I'm always like, is there going to be parking?
Am I going to know what to do? Am I going to be so exhausted that I die? This is a legitimate concern of mine all the time when I'm starting a new class. I'm like, I do not want someone to have to call the ambulance on me. Legitimate fear that I have.
Samesies. But you can also survive those things. And the best thing is you start to meet people in a situation like this. For me, a big season of yes was when I first started doing work. And I had a lot of opportunities coming to me. I started meeting a lot of people on Twitter. I was saying yes, yes, yes to every conversation. And I learned so much. I learned about sabbaticals. I learned about what people are thinking about. That information helped me launch my course a year later. I got to meet really cool people who brought me on their podcast, people who ended up hiring me later. It was such a healthy season of yes, because I didn't actually know what I wanted to do in this next chapter of my life. I knew I wasn't going back to sales necessarily, but I was excited to say yes to opportunities because opportunities were coming my way and I did not want to say no to abundance.
Which brings us to saying no to abundance. Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we don't have time to do anything. We're constantly exhausted, both mentally and physically. And we're not getting enough sleep, and we want to do other things, and we don't even have time for those things. We don't even have time for basic things like cleaning the house or washing the dishes. And I hate when the house becomes a mess. This is when it may be time for a season of no.
I love how Derek Sivers talks about this. I believe he's the first person in his piece, no yes, either heck yeah or no. And he says, use this rule if you're often overcommitted or too scattered. It's really about having boundaries. And look, my season of yes, saying yes to all this type of work, saying yes to all these people online, that was amazing until I burned out. Until I had to start setting some boundaries with my time because I was overcommitted and I was scattered and I was making my schedule around all of these invites that would just pop up. And even though I enjoyed it, as I started to focus in on specific projects, I realized I had to protect my time. And that meant I had to be in a season of no, which sucks. I hate saying no to people.
Michelle, I got into a season of no when I got into financial independence. When I first found out about the FIRE movement, I was like, whoa, I got to start saving money and plotting my early retirement. One thing I realized is I was living in San Francisco. I was going out with you a lot. When I was free, I thought, I should go do things. But the truth was, I didn't really have time or bandwidth for that. I was busy enough with work. I had plenty of work to do outside of work, and I wanted to learn Spanish. Those two things and not spending money were all my goals. So I cut everything. I remember I would not hang out with you a lot, which you were totally great about. I also just stopped spending on literally everything. I stopped saying yes to all these trips, all these vacations. I'm like, no, I'm getting tired. Let me just not do any of those things and focus on saving.
You could say you were in a season of nada. How I would say season of no in Spanish.
No is no in Spanish.
Dang it. I should have done it for season of yes. It's true though, Sammy. When you're making big changes in your life, sometimes you're like, I gotta cut people out. I gotta cut activities out. And I think as I've matured, I've realized that's not personal. It felt that way when I was younger. I felt like, oh, this person is taking up too much of my time because my friends would make plans with me on the fly and I would say yes. And then I would become resentful that I was tired or I felt like I was doing things I didn't want to do. And again, a season of yes can be good to open yourself up to opportunities, but you have to also check in with yourself. Do you have the time, the energy, the money, the bandwidth? Because sometimes it makes more sense to have a season of no. Because a season of no is also a season of focus. It's a season of self-care, and there's nothing wrong with that.
A tip for seasons of no. When I was in college, I found myself a bit overwhelmed with all my friends and all the activities I had going on. I was getting very little sleep. And I unilaterally decided on a season of no. I did not tell my friends that I was doing this, and I ghosted a lot of people. I did recuperate pretty well. I was able to study and sleep. I was in a happy place because of that. But when I came out of my season of no and wanted to hang out with my friends again, they were obviously a bit upset that I just disappeared on them. So my tip for a season of no. Once you realize you're in a season of no, just let people know, hey, I'm taking a break from a lot of activities right now. It's nothing personal. It's just me focusing on me. I'm doing well. I don't want you to worry about me, but do not be offended if I'm not hanging out with you.
I wish I could say I was different than you, Sammy. I did the same thing. When I was in San Francisco, my season of yes went a little too long, and I started to feel overwhelmed. I felt busy, and I also started to feel like I wanted to leave the city. But I wasn't really cognizant of that, and I started to just get frustrated with people around me, with my friends. And when I left San Francisco, I didn't really tell anybody. I didn't have a party when I left. My closest friends knew, but most people did not. I had people texting me for months after that, asking me about hanging out, and I was like, oh yeah, I live in Austin now. So it's been really hard to get those friendships back, to be honest, and I don't blame anybody for that. I think now that I'm a little bit more mature, I realize that you can just tell people you're in a season of no. I do that all the time now when people ask me to say chat. I always think they're going to freak out, but I'll be like, hey, I'm working on these projects. Like, I'm saying no to calls right now. And it's insane. Literally everybody's okay with it. So if you're in a season of no, I encourage you to let people know as opportunities come up, because the truth is that if you do want to come back to those people, if they're important to you, yes, they might just accept you anyway. But if people feel like you're ignoring them or ghosting them, that's not really strong communication. And I think it's good to have those tough conversations and just express that to people.
It reminds me of what our friend Harris often says, which is that you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. So telling them that you're going on a season of no is going to be very helpful to them. If somebody absolutely does not accept that, maybe that's not appropriate. But at the same time, ghosting people and then expecting them to still want to be your friend, in that case, it can be understandable if they don't find you trustworthy or want to form a relationship with you again.
I like that, Sammy. You can't season of no the wrong person.
Takeaways.
Takeaways for this episode. Maybe you're like me and Sammy. You hear a lot about say yes to everything. Lean in to the opportunities. Put yourself out there. Or on the flip side, it's like heck yeah or no. It's important to check in with yourself. Hey, am I in a place that's a season of yes? Which to me is, am I looking for new opportunities, meeting new people? Do I want to move out of my comfort zone a little bit? Have I been feeling a little stagnant and I want to mix things up? Those are great opportunities for a season of yes.
When we're learning and growing, a season of yes is oftentimes the right thing. I remember when I first started working, any opportunity I would get, I would just say yes to. Making coffee, drawing blood, going to watch someone get a mammogram, going to sit with a radiologist in a dark room just watching her look at mammograms all day. Things that really would not be relevant to my future career. I said yes to everything because I just wanted to learn everything that there was to learn. Even when I started my first job, I was like yes to all the walk-ins, yes to all the shifts, and I really did learn a lot very quickly. But then there comes a time to say no. No to random shifts all the time. No to taking patients all the time. That's when you start setting your boundaries and making time for yourself. And it's completely normal to have both seasons of yes and seasons of no. Just because a season of yes led to some overwhelm does not mean you'll never have a season of yes ever again in your life.
And just because a season of no meant that you had to shut down for a little bit, refine your own interest, focus on your projects that are important to you, doesn't mean that you can't come out of there, come out of your little cave, and say, hey, hello friends, I'm back. And if you treated those people right, if you let them know, a lot of times they will be there, open arms, to accept you back.
Community time.
Before we say goodbye, it's our community time.
Speaking of seasons of no, Michelle, I'm on a season of no extra spending.
Ooh, interesting.
I was looking at my spending for the last year, and I did spend quite a lot of money. To be fair, we did move, and I did have my thyroid removed in another state. So, yes, those things kind of cost a bit. But I noticed that since I've been working, especially since I started my job in the desert, I was accustomed to being able to say yes to all the things that I thought of in my mind to buy.
It's helpful when you're limited by things that are on the internet and what's at Albertsons.
It's very true, Michelle. And I'm like this type of person. I like to like create order and all my things. So I can really think of a lot of things to buy sometimes. And I realize I want to have boundaries on that again. Like, I kind of like that feeling of not saying yes to all the ideas of what to purchase in my mind, because this also results in accumulating a lot of things, which I do not like either.
I love that, Sammy. A spending season of yes, where you're abundant, you're letting yourself enjoy things, and then realizing, hey, it's time to be in a spending season of no, because now I have 5 different sports bras of the same shade of green. Not calling anybody out here. I realize that in myself, where I can spend money that I need to spend, or because things are bringing me joy, and then all of a sudden I got itchy fingers. That Amazon app is coming a little bit too easily. That smoothie right next to the yoga. That Chick-fil-A right after cycling. You can tell what my indulgences are.
Exactly. It's so easy to get trigger fingers. Michelle bought us this wonderful coffee canister that holds our coffee beans. And I'm like, let's get another one for ground coffee too. I'm like, whoa, we don't need that. We have plenty of containers here. The ground coffee can just go in another container. We don't need everything to be perfectly aesthetically pleasing.
It's funny because I think anybody who's come to our house for a meetup would be like, these girls have literally no decorations. Like, what?
Like, this is the house of a psychopath?
The decorations we just feel no joy with.
Yes, we have basic restrictions. But I want to try taking it to the next level and being back to my old frugal self.
I love that for you, Sammy. Let us know. Are you in a season of yes or a season of no?
Ooh.
What does that actually mean to you? And are you enjoying it? I would love to know that. Go to buildawealthyspirit.com. It's in the show notes. You can click on a link to the newsletter, and you can actually leave comments there or send us an email, and we love to hear it. Hit respond. If you got our show notes in an email, hit respond and let us know. Are you in a season of yes or a season of no? And WTF does that look like?
And most importantly, be sure to join us next time as we put down the rulebook and we rethink the status quo.